Assalamu alaikum and Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are here with a new topic, and the topic is eosinophil. And basically, we have learned about neutrophil in our previous topic, as we learn about its development, its structure, and then function. And then we have discussed its granules, primary granules, and secondary granules, and what is the exact process of the production of granules. So same in the sequence. Today we are going to start our lecture, that is eosinophil, and we will also focus on development, its structure and function of eosinophil, and we will also discuss about its secretory granules. My name is Tanveer Tara and I am lecturer at Sarhad University of Science and Information Technology. This lecture is specifically for 4th semester. So let's start. So we all know that eosinophil is the second most common type of granulocyte in the bloodstream, and a normal individual, has about 50 to 300 eosinophil per microliter, which means that they are 1 to 3% of all white blood cells. While comparing it with the neutrophil, a normal individual has about 3000 to 7500 neutrophil per microliter of a blood, which means that they are 55 to 75% of all white blood cells. Although eosinophils have many functions, but the major function is to attack and destroy element parasites, especially larval blood fleas. Eosinophils possess phagocytic ability just as a neutrophil do. However, when phagocytosis occurs, it is usually associated with degranulation. So starting from the very beginning, now we are going toward its development, how it's regulate, and then we will finally discuss about its structure and the secretory granules, that are its large granules or small granules, or its primary or secondary granules. So the proliferation and maturation sequence of eosinophilic granulocyte is similar to that of neutrophil. Both have the same stages. Both have myeloblast, eosinophilic promyelocyte, metamyelocyte, band cell, and then segmented eosinophil. And both are developing their specific and primary granules and secondary granules. Like an eosinophilic promyelocyte, which also contain a large round nucleus, but the nucleus have disappeared. Then eosinophilic myelocyte, that is characterized by a large oval eccentric nucleus and secondary granules in the cytoplasm. Then in the fourth stage, this is eosinophilic metamyelocyte, which is almost similar to myelocyte, except that it is slightly smaller, and in this stage a kidney shaped nucleus, just as the neutrophilic metamyelocyte they have. In fifth stage, that is eosinophilic band cell. So along kidney shape changed into a band cell and band nucleus, and that's why it's called band nucleus. And they have dense chromatin and many granules that stain a bright orange red with right stain or Leishman stain. And then finally segmented eosinophil is released in the bloodstream from the bone marrow. Its nucleus normally contain only two segmented or loops, where the neutrophilic segmented neutrophil contain 3 to 5 loops, and it is connected by a thin strand of nuclear material, in contrast with the neutrophil, which usually exhibits 3 to 5 lobe. So both have approximately the same stages, and both have the same maturational sequence. Both are producing the same granules, but their chemical material are different from each other. So this is the development of eosinophilic series, and they are taking about 5 to 6 days from the beginning toward its maturation. The peripheral blood contain only a small fraction of total eosinophil pool. For every circulating eosinophil, there are approximately 300 eosinophil in reserve in the bone marrow. Like we have discussed it in neutrophil, lecture, that there are certain pools. Some of them have marginating pools, some of them have bone marrow pool, and some of them are circulating pool. And what we are counting in the total leukocyte count there are from the circulating pool. Similarly, here we also have pools, and for every circulating eosinophil, there are approximately 300 eosinophil in reserve and the bone marrow. And for every eosinophil in the blood, there are approximately 200 in the tissue, especially in the guts and lungs. Although we don't know exactly how long eosinophil remain in the bloodstream, but most experts agree that the residence is short. Some of book show it 5 to 6 days, some of the book shows it's 10 to 12 days, but the exact time which we have learned from the expert is 8 to 12 hours. Here in this slide, we are discussing its regulation, and here are certain growth factors which are very much involved in the production of eosinophil, like interleukin 3. It is multi-colony stimulating factor that also already we have discussed it in the neutrophil lecture. Like if you see toward here, this is a multipluripotent stem cell, and after that it will divide into two different series, that is lymphoid lineage and its myeloid progenitor cell. And from myeloid progenitor cell, granulocyte monocyte colony stimulating factor promotes the myeloblasts, and after myeloblast, here if interleukin 3, interleukin 5 and granulocyte monocyte colony stimulating factor promoted, it will ultimately convert to eosinophil. In the peripheral bloodstream, the level of eosinophil is subjected to a diurnal rhythm. The eosinophil count is normally highest at midnight and lowest just before noon. This fluctuation may be correlated with the production of endogenous cortisol by the adrenal cortex, and increased cortisol secretions inhibits the release of eosinophil from the bone marrow compartment. In a normal healthy individual, cortisol release is highest in the morning, and it's under sustainable that this will be followed by a decreased number of eosinophil a few hours later. Corticosteroids, drugs, and catecholamines will also produce a decrease in the number of the circulating eosinophils. And the rate at which eosinophil leave the circulation is regulated by a number of chemotactic factors. The best known of these factors is the eosinophilic chemotactic factor of anaphylaxis, that is also known as ECFA, which is released from the mast cells, and also it's released from the basophil as well. So the structure of eosinophil is composed mainly of its lobe, that is bilobe nucleus. It has different sort of granules, it has Golgi apparatus, and it has different mitochondria. The shape of the nucleus, which usually show only two lobes and the new eosinophil. Second one is the presence of a unique large granules that bind to the acidic dye, and that's why it's take color of orange, and that's why it's called eosinophilic, and stand them bright orange red. And the third one is more highly developed Golgi apparatus, and you know that the Golgi apparatus has cisternae and its pinch that dense granules, and then we have some granules. We already have discussed it in detail in the neutrophil lecture. The presence of more mitochondria than in the immature neutrophil. Neutrophil have mitochondria, but eosinophil have more mitochondria than that of the eosinophil. Like we have neutrophil, and neutrophil have some primary granules and secondary granules. Similarly, we have granules for eosinophil as well, and that's why they are called granulocytes. And here granules are large crystallite granules and small granules. The large crystallite granules contain cationic protein, neurotoxins, peroxidase, and antihistamine. As well, they have also a variety of lysosomal enzymes, where the small granules contain aryl sulfatase, gelatinase, and acid phosphatase. We will discuss it in more detail under the heading of eosinophilic secretions.